Hi everyone, and welcome back to Vinted Value Mama. My name's Allison, and today I'm talking about something very near and dear to my heart, Vinted in America. If you've tried looking for more information about Vinted before, you've probably seen that most of the content out there, including my own, is focused on Vinted in Europe. Vinted is incredibly popular in Europe, but it is in America now, and I wanted to take my vacation to talk about some of the differences you might experience buying or selling on Vinted in America rather than in Europe for my fellow Americans. Let's get started. First of all, what exactly is Vinted? Well, Vinted is a platform, a website, an app where you can buy or sell secondhand clothes online. Unlike other platforms like eBay or Poshmark, Vinted has no fees for the seller. The seller gets to keep 100% of their sale, and the buyer pays for shipping and a small Vinted fee. So, as you can imagine, this makes Vinted incredibly popular among sellers, but not as popular in America as it is in Europe, and we're going to talk about why that might be a little bit later. The real question, I think, on everyone's mind is, can you find the same great deals on Vinted in the US as you can on Vinted in Europe? And sadly, the answer is not really. So in the US, you are buying from other people in the US. In Europe, every country is a bit different. I live in Austria. I can buy things from sellers in Austria, also from France, and also from Italy. And that's a pretty small market compared to some of the other places on Vinted where you can buy from like 9 different countries. So, but the US is a lot bigger than countries in Europe, so that shouldn't matter, right? I don't know. I had a look at wool sweaters because this is a category that I am really well acquainted with. So when I was in America using my dad's phone, I had a look. What is the selection of wool sweaters on Vinted in America? And it was a lot fewer search results than I normally have searching in Europe, even though I can only buy from 3 countries in Europe, still a lot fewer in America, and the prices really started climbing quite quickly. Whereas in Europe, there are lots of options for €3, €2. I got this sweater off Vinted France for €1 before shipping. So you're not going to find a much better deal than that, are you? The question really is why? So there are a lot more sellers on Vinted in Europe. A lot more people trying to sell a lot more clothes. And that means that there's a much greater supply of something like wool sweaters on Vinted in Europe, and the price is going to go down accordingly as each seller tries to keep their listing really competitive and really enticing. Not as many sellers in the US, not as much competition and incentive to go for the lowest price. But why is that? As far as I'm aware, Vinted is the only app that allows the sellers to keep all of their money. Something like Poshmark takes 20% away from the seller. So why are there so many more sellers on Vinted in Europe rather than Vinted in the US? I've seen a couple different theories floated around on the internet. One of them is that the shipping costs are just too expensive in the US. Ain't nobody gonna go for that. So I did kind of a deep dive into what the shipping is, how it's different than in Europe, and I agree the shipping costs suck in the US. Let me have a look at my phone so I get all of these numbers right. So, when you buy something in the US, no matter sort of how small it is, you're going to pay $6.92. Basically, $7 just for shipping, which was crazy for me. Here in Austria, when I buy something off of Vinted, we get free shipping within Austria. If it comes from France, it's usually €1 and 49 cents. And if it comes from Italy, it's usually €3 and 99 cents. And I hardly ever even buy things from Italy because I feel like $3.99 is too expensive. So $6.92 just absolutely blew my mind. But there's more because that's for like a very small thing. If you get something that's slightly larger, I think the cutoff is like 14 ounces, then we're talking about $12.52 for something like a hardcover book or, I don't know, a pair of little booties or something like that. If you do like a bundle of a few things, I saw it going up to $15.46 or even higher, which is so ridiculous. Imagine buying a used book on Vinted, a hardcover book, for $3 and then having to spend $12 in shipping. It's just not worth it. Imagine buying a really inexpensive set of earrings that weigh absolutely nothing off of Vinted for $1 and then having to pay $7 for shipping. Blew my mind. Another big difference between the US and Europe is how bundles work. So I think being able to bundle items from the same seller is a real benefit of using Vinted. It makes shopping just so much easier and more streamlined, at least for me normally here in Austria. Because normally, if you buy a bundle, you're saving on the Vinted fees, and shipping is generally still the same price. So there's really no reason not to try and give that seller a bit of extra money and go for a bundle. But in America, as the packages get more heavy, the bundle also gets more expensive. So I was looking just for research at little baby clothes, like little onesies. And you can find, a little onesie for like $1. And it's such a good value to shop for baby clothes secondhand because babies grow out of them so quickly. I'm sure all of these little onesies were basically like never worn. And it's really expensive to buy them new for what they are. It's just a tiny little piece of fabric. So you can buy a little onesie off Vinted for $1. You then pay the $6.92 for shipping, and one little onesie is about $8, which not such a great deal. But if you buy a bundle of little onesies, if you get 3 of them for $3, then we've got $6.92 for shipping. You've got 3 onesies for about $10. That is a much better value, something that I would probably buy if I were in the market for onesies ever again. The thing about Vinted in America, though, is if you add a 4th little onesie to your bundle, which again is tiny and weighs basically nothing, then your shipping is bumped up to that higher rate of $12.50 or whatever I said. So now you've got $4 for the onesies, maybe 50 cents for the Vinted fees, and $12 for the shipping. And paying like $17 just for little onesies, I don't know, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So, what can you do? If you are a buyer, of course, try and make a bundle. You can save yourself money on that, but do it very slowly. And at each step of the process, make sure that you haven't added too much from your bundle that's going to put it into that higher shipping category now, because that's really not going to be worth your while most of the times. If you are a seller, you want to think about how you are using discounts to encourage people to buy your bundle. If you want to have some discounts on, it really helps to encourage people to buy more and make more sales. But that's not always going to be true if people end up paying a ton more in shipping. So if you give them 20% off, but only if they order 4 things from you, and ordering 4 things is usually going to be enough to make them spend $6 more on shipping, 20% off really isn't all that good of a value anymore. Nobody's going to want to do that. Do I think this is the reason why Vinted is so much more popular in Europe than in America? I do not. I think I compared like Poshmark, ThreadUp, all kinds of different secondhand sites, and shipping is generally pretty similar. It's $6, $7, $8. I think a lot of people are probably just used to getting everything fast and free with Amazon Prime, and they really don't like the idea of spending $7 for shipping a really small or inexpensive item. But, like I said, it's still competitive within the other platforms. So, another thing that I've seen people mention is that there's too much competition in America. All those other platforms. And I'm not 100% sold on this idea either. First of all, Vinted is incredibly popular in Europe, but it's not like it's the only option. There are a lot of different secondhand platforms in Europe as well. And like I said, I felt like Vinted fees, Vinted prices were pretty competitive among the other platforms. It's got a fine user interface, definitely not the worst one I saw when I was trying to click around. I would not say that it's competition from things like eBay or Poshmark. But the longer I stayed in America and the more sort of digging I did, I came up with my own theory. And that is that there's too much competition, but not in the way that you're thinking. Like I said before, people are really used to getting cheap things off Amazon Prime with free shipping. People in America just have a lot more access to fast fashion than they do in Europe. And I think it's that kind of competition that's really depressing secondhand sites like Vinted. Now, if you're in Europe, you might be thinking, no, we've got a lot of fast fashion here. It's awful. But you do not know at all. It's just everywhere in America. So I do these YouTube videos. My entire family knows about Vinted. And one day, my brother went to Walmart to grab cough drops, and he came home with a new shirt. Because, it was there at Walmart and it looked pretty good and it was like $17.99. Why not a new shirt? And I think that's the kind of mentality in America. Sorry, Stephen. But people are a bit more impulsive. If something is next to the cash register, they're going to grab it. And people are looking for something that's really instantaneous, that instant gratification, having it now, being able to take it home, fast free shipping, all of that kind of stuff. I really hope this changes. I think buying secondhand is so beneficial. You can buy a much better quality than you can at Walmart for basically the same price, and you're helping support people who are selling their clothes. Real people, not some multi-million-dollar conglomeration. That's about it for me today. If you want to see the kind of deals I regularly find on Vinted in Europe, then check out my Vinted hauls. And if you could take a moment to subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate it. I've got another video coming out about the different platforms in America and how to compare them. And also I'm thinking of doing one about food prices in America because I've got a lot to say about that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.